So there's this guy, all right? His name is Cornel West, and I just want to say that he's one of these people I've respected, I've seen on mainstream television, on mainstream networks, talking the talk, and by all appearances, walking the walk when it comes to, furthering the struggle of the civil rights era into the modern day. And I have a lot of respect for him. Or at least I had a lot of respect for him, because unfortunately, one of the things about Cornel West is that he decided to run to be president of the United States in 2024, which totally fine. You were entitled to be able to do that. However, the way in which he has campaigned, the way in which he understands the political landscape, the way in which he has kind of repeatedly shown his ass on the campaign trail is, well, it's enough to make me reconsider my past support of him. Not the past support I had for the ideas, for his championing of civil rights, his pushing of progressive policies, etc., but of him himself. So, one of the things I saw, I guess this was just yesterday, is Cornel West writing this. Brothers and sisters, it's time we commit to understanding and addressing the role of pharmaceutical influence in public policy. I propose a COVID-19 Truth Commission to explore the disproportionate impact on marginalized communities, seek reparations, and ensure justice and equity in future responses. We must also challenge the censorship that silences diverse voices in these critical conversations. Additionally, we will establish a vaccine safety and utilization panel to restore trust in our public health institutions through science, transparency, and community engagement. Together, let's protect our nation's health and respect the autonomy of its people. And if you don't understand what he means here, you'd be forgiven for that, because it takes a lot of being kind of seeped in politics, I think, to pick up on how he's messaging here. But this is essentially Cornel West stepping into the void left by Robert F. Kennedy Jr. RFK Jr. dropped out of the race. We'll get to that. We'll cover that in a bit. But yeah, Cornel West here is just trying to step into the vacuum left by the vaccine skeptics. And I think that's a bit telling. Here, let's watch this video. We'll watch the little video he attached to it.
I want to speak to my brothers and sisters of all colors who are concerned about not just the vaccine, but the role of the pharmaceutical company in shaping public policy, not allowing the various voices to be heard, the role of censorship.
So, just real quick, okay? Let's just break this down bit by bit, okay? Who are concerned not just about the vaccine, but the role of the pharmaceutical companies in shaping public policy. We'll start with that, okay? The way you address people being concerned about the vaccine and vaccines is by engaging with the science of it, by explaining how it works, by explaining what mechanisms make it work, what all's in it, etc., etc., etc. And that information is already out there. That information exists. The data and the science about the vaccine's safety and efficacy, that's out. We know that. It's been out for years now. So, you don't address vaccine safety concerns by ignoring that aspect. Okay? And that but that is kind of ignored here and instead attached to the pharmaceutical industry's effect on public policy. Now, that is a real problem. But it's not necessarily a real problem in the sense that it is linked to vaccine safety. Okay? And what I mean by that is that the main problem when it comes to the pharmaceutical industry is shaping public policy is essentially wanting to charge the American people for the vaccine to make record profits off of monopolizing the vaccine and keeping kind of like these pockets of, market share intact in perpetuity. Like, that's kind of the thing that they're doing when it comes to public policy around the vaccine. They're not shaping public policy to needlessly get people vaccinated or to public policy that makes vaccines less safe. Those aren't really their goals. It's the charging us more. It's the privatized healthcare system. It is the the lack of collective bargaining around drug prices. It's the issue here is capitalism. It's not evil people in the pharmaceutical industry want to poison you and your baby. And it's also not we just don't know what they're putting in the vaccines. They could cause autism in your body. We know that's not true. The research is already in on that. You can go look at it yourself or watch an H-bomb guy video about it, I guess. Or, find any number of competent science communicators who can kind of parse more dense research papers for you. These are all things that exist. So all I'm trying to point out here, vaccine safety and pharmaceutical industry writing public policy, both important, but we have the answer to vaccine safety, and we already know how the pharmaceutical industry is shaping public policy. And it's not, those two things don't really relate very well.
Not allowing the various voices to be heard, the role of censorship.
Again, when you're talking about the role of censorship as it relates to this particular topic, the people who are largely portrayed as being censored are people who are talking about how vaccines cause autism, how you're going to suddenly drop dead if you take a COVID vaccine, etc., etc., etc. The people being censored are the people miscommunicating the science to people. Is the whole anti-vax movement a psyop from Big Pharma? No. In a very tiny way, yes, but mostly no. In the very tiny way it is that the whole vaccines cause autism argument was basically designed to get the British government to endorse a three-part three separate vaccination shots that were privately owned by a private corporation that the researcher had stake in, as opposed to a 3-in-1 vaccination. The essential argument being that, if you get all three of them in one shot, it might give your kids autism, but if you space it out into 3 different shots, then they're not going to be as likely to get autism, and so you should definitely get the 3 separate ones that are only done by the company that I have a stake in. That was a thing that happened. But, is what the anti-vax movement right now, is that a psyop of Big Pharma? No. It's honestly just taken on a life of its own. There are economic incentives of its own. Very good example of this would be like Jimmy Dore, for example. Like Jimmy Dore's entire channel took off because he embraced vaccine skepticism. It's a core component of his audience. And so he has an incredibly huge financial incentive to continue with this stuff. So, like, there's also, like, a thriving, like, alternative health market where you can, like, get into, like, very niche kind of Gwyneth Paltrow-like hippy-dippy-woo healing nonsense. So, like, in a way, like, there's... like in like a lot of capitalist not abuse, exploitation of like this demographic of anti-vax that continues to perpetuate it, but is also profiting off of it. But it's not really a big pharma thing. Big pharma doesn't care if you get your vaccine or not, really. The anti-vax movement is a thing because some cunt wanted more money, yes. And also because then he kept getting paid a lot of money to go and talk about anti-vax stuff. Yeah.
Censorship, the attempt to impose closure on various voices that would help us understand what's really going on.
Again, that would help us understand what's really going on. You know, what's really going on. He's alluding to the fact that he believes there's a conspiracy around vaccines.
When it comes to healthcare policy vis-a-vis vaccine, I want a truth commission to find out what happened in the past, and I want to make sure that each and every one of us have fair access to the truth.
Now, here's one thing, right? I think it would be great if the United States made a commission to look into healthcare abuses, both present and historical. I think that would be really, really good. But Cornel West seems to be proposing that we need to look into vaccine safety both now and in the past, because he is trying to allude to the fact that there is a conspiracy that to make vaccines unsafe. You know? Because have there been like horrific healthcare abuses, specifically of the African American community and the indigenous community? Absolutely. Absolutely. Should we investigate those? Yes. Does that have to do with vaccine safety right now? No. Does it speak to the fact that there is a large, grand conspiracy between Big Pharma and the government to get you vaccinated with unsafe vaccines? No. He's linking these ideas and using progressive-sounding language to sell conspiracism. And then, of course, he's continuing to run for president. And you know how I know he's full of shit on this? You know how I know that, like, he's directly tapping into this? Because RFK has tapped out of the race. Well, let's who all's talking about this? Oh wait, is it Robert F. Kennedy Jr. replying to Cornel West saying, "So grateful to you, Cornel, for commitment to ending the corruption." You know, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., the guy who got children killed in American Samoa due to his anti-vax advocacy. Robert F. Kennedy Jr., the guy who thinks vaccines cause autism and that the Jews caused COVID-19. Like, I don't know, guys. Maybe you should pay attention to who is being courted with this rhetoric. Roger Stone replying to Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Something significant is happening in American politics, but I wholeheartedly agree with Cornel West. Yeah, when the guy who has Nixon's face tattooed across his back is agreeing with you, you're lost, man. You're lost. Just... Yeah, oh, by the way, I'm not kidding about the Nixon tattoo thing, guys. I'm not kidding about it. It's real, unfortunately. He loved Nixon so much he tattooed his face on his back. He got a Nixon tramp stamp. It's weird. Like, and you might be like, oh, well, that could be... Here's another one. Here's a more modern one. Look at it. So, Cornel West, you're in great company right now, man. Great company. There's really no coming back once you embrace anti-vax rhetoric. Like, you're gone. Like, you're just fully gone. Okay? People who are embracing anti-vax rhetoric, that's... You're courting the people who think microchips are being implanted under your skin. You're courting the people who think that, like, autism is gross and bad, and, like, if your child is autistic, they're ruined for life. That's the demographic that you're courting here, and you're courting anti-empiricists. You're courting people who are primed to accept fascism. You're courting a bunch of anti-science rubes who lack the curiosity to even Google scholarly research on the subjects that they profess to be interested in. Pro tip, okay? Just pro tip, all right? If you are an anti-vaxxer, please, for the love of God, actually go and, like, look up the scholarly research on the vaccines that you're concerned about. Go look and see if those studies have been pulled. Go look and see what the responses are, because when a study gets pulled, there's plenty of documentation about it, about why it got pulled, and the arguments for pulling it. And I gotta tell you something. Weirdly enough, it's not because the big pharmaceutical donor told us we had to do it, otherwise they weren't going to give us more money. No, it's just the science doesn't back the anti-vax position. People like you are bringing back polio. I would just appreciate it if maybe you bothered to do your research before inflicting polio on the modern world again. Anyway. Deeply disappointing stuff.
Time went along.
I don't have it in me to do this entire thing, but I think you can see a lot of this in how, you know, I mentioned Jimmy Dore's audience, and I did kind of want to go through this just real quick, but I don't think we have the time. But here is a quick clip from the debate between Jimmy Dore and Sam Seder in 2016 about the election that I feel like is somewhat related.
One will be they're refusing to hold hearings for her nominee, and that will just go on and on because there's not going to be anything else that's going on. It's going to be a fundamentally different media era. So I don't think they're going to be able to hold out for 4 years, and Democrats certainly wouldn't be able to hold out for 4 years because they don't believe in the destruction of the Senate as an institution in the way that Republicans do. And frankly, I'm glad about that.
Okay, so you don't. So here's my theory. I'll just give you my theory: is that
if the Republicans can do this to a guy like Merrick Garland, that they've already said is a great justice, for a whole year without batting an eye and paying no political price for it, I say the Democrats will be able to filibuster someone that Donald Trump nominated. And then in 2 years, the Senate, in my opinion, it would flip to Republican just because of, I agree with Chris Hayes when he says that if Donald Trump becomes president, it's the destruction of the Republican Party. And Paul Ryan is not going to usher any of his crazy policies through Congress. So
I honestly, like, if you're a Jimmy Dore fan, like, I don't understand how you, and you consider yourself a leftist, of course, which I'm sure is a shrinking minority of his viewers these days. You have to do a lot of work, a lot of mental gymnastics to be like, wow, how did he get it so wrong? He's literally arguing here that, oh, well, you know, if Donald Trump becomes president, it's no big deal. Nothing will happen because Democrats will just filibuster anything he does. Insane. Insane. Like, the political instincts of anti-vaxxers are horrible. And they're horrible because anti-vax is kind of the gateway to what I've been talking about for a while now. It's the conspiracy singularity. This reliance on an anti-empiricist ideology, the anti-vax shit, leads you into the gravity well, the ideological gravity well of the conspiracy singularity. And then you start bumping heads with more and more isolated fringe communities, the QAnon folk, the flat earthers, you know? And suddenly, like, you realize your non-conspiracy friends just don't really get along with you very well anymore. But you know what? You find that people from other conspiracy communities, wow, they kind of get you. And you know, it's they seem to share a lot of commonalities, or rather, one very big commonality, which is that at the end of the day, these conspiracies all really rely on some kind of shadowy organization that controls the world and is pushing this LGBTQ ideology in order to weaken society, and you know, are taking a lot of these steps to kind of dilute the normal society with their undesirables. What I'm saying is, as you approach kind of the center of the singularity, you just become an anti-Semite. You become a homophobic, transphobic, anti-Semite who believes the entire world is out to get you. And at the bottom of that gravity well, united by these beliefs and a complete rejection of facts, is fascism. It's the fascist death cult. And, you know, all I'm saying is, you watch Jimmy Dore here 7 years ago expressing asinine political instincts while slowly being in the beginning stages of embracing this anti-vax, anti-empiricist ideology, and jump ahead to 6 days ago. And, wow. Huh.
Moons ago, before they decided to establish Israel as a country, I know you've read like the short version in the classroom, and it was like, oh, the Holocaust happened, and then we realized that Israel needs a state. No, that's not how it went down. That's not how it went down at the F all, okay? Catholics and Christians were going missing on Passover, and then they would find bodies, okay, across Europe, and they were able to trace them back to Jews. Blood libel. They weren't Jews, okay? These were Frankists. And so just like...
Yeah, you know, Jimmy Dore and his co-host, who, by the way, hosted an incredibly friendly interview with Candace Owens like a week or two ago. We covered it. Are now just like breathlessly watching her literally engaging in blood libel anti-Semitism. Yeah, what she just said here was Jews were abducting and killing people for their occult Jewish rituals. Like, that's blood libel, guys. Is that Candace Owens? Yeah, that is indeed Candace Owens.
Leo Frank killed Mary Fagan on Passover back in.
Do you know what Frankists are?
Yeah, that's the people that aren't Jews that use Jews. That basically, they used to make deals with the even the Catholic Church. The Pope wasn't in on it. Like there were crazy anti-Semite kind of bishops, and these Frankists that are like anti-Jews would conspire with them to kill Jews, and the Pope had to put a stop to the pogroms they caused. So you know how Christians
Really?
there's not a great. Oh yeah, okay. The Sabbateans are the first iteration of this, Sabbatai Zevi, and that's known as the biggest catastrophe in Judaism before the Holocaust. And that's when a fake Messiah came out, and his whole thing was like Rasputin, like you have to sin for salvation. There's some nonsense where you're like, yeah, you got to do really bad stuff, and then that will make the Messiah come faster. I mean, come to earth.
Like, I'm not going to entertain this entire 20-minute video. But this is Jimmy Dore's MO now. This is Jimmy Dore's MO. Basically, he's like, wow, is this anti-Semitic blood libel true? And then his co-host is like, oh yeah, it's definitely true, bro. Trust me. Definitely true. You know, the Jews really were just executing Catholics. Yeah, it was a real thing that was going on. Like, and thus we should definitely believe Candace Owens' blood libel. Like, this is the conspiracy singularity, guys. This is exactly what I'm talking about. It starts out, and then it just spirals down. Why is chat different on your screen? Because that chat is over on riverboat.gg, which you can just go to in your URL bar. Just like...
Faster, Jesus.
Yes.
Okay. It was in Turkey. This guy was in Turkey, and he took like 50 to 60% of all the Jews at the time went along with this. The ones that...
Can we get like citations? Yeah, there's this guy in Turkey. 50 to 60% of the Jews did this thing.
And the problem was back then, so many Jews have been persecuted so much. They had a thing of not kicking anybody out. Like, we need every Jew we can get. And so they let this guy. They didn't like say, hey, you're not one of us, because it was like we're going to be extinct. And then there was one guy that was like really a faithful like rabbi that saw through it the whole time. And I don't remember his name offhand.
Man, this sounds like really reliable information. Shabtai Tzvi was a real dude, but his movement wasn't really that big. Yeah. Like, I don't doubt that you can, like, find instances of, like, political or religious leaders from the Jewish roots, like, doing bad stuff throughout European history. That's every group in Europe. Every group in Europe has that. But once you're like putting forward that like it's part of a grand conspiracy of like a Jewish minority trying to manipulate all of continental Europe in order to do blood libel, like that's insane. You've gone into insane. You've gone from like talking about a historical moment in time or like even like a historical trend, and instead you're talking about a full-blown conspiracy that is not at all supported by the historical record. Anyway, we're not watching the rest of this because it's garbage. And I think you all should be able to recognize garbage. I just showed you the dumpster. Hopefully that helps you identify it in the future. Don't trip into the dumpster, folks. Just trying to arm you with the tools you need to avoid tripping into that dumpster. The bad stuff that Shabtai Tzvi was about wasn't kill babies and use their blood for matzah, but more like, I don't know, do adultery or whatever. Yeah. I can only show you the dumpster. You have to walk into it yourself. Good night, Ashley. Get good sleep. Thanks for watching, and thank you for helping to invent the internet. Hope you're keeping cool in the heat wave. Oh God. All right. Enough of that. Finished that segment. Oh, speaking of, might be worth raising an eyebrow. Like, it's not surprising. Like, this shouldn't surprise anybody. Donald Trump is a fascist. And in keeping with, you know, the fascists of, you know, a couple generations ago, Donald Trump finds a kinship with fascists from all over the globe. And it's really not that surprising that upon well, let me put it this way. I'm surprised it hasn't happened sooner. Trump shared post from N-word spewing account that claims Hitler was right and the Holocaust never happened. It's not surprising, dude. The account proudly proclaims that it's a white nationalist account that talks about make anti-Semitism great again and calls the Holocaust the hollow hoax. 6 million never happened. And, yeah, just quietly retweeting or retruthing. Oh, I guess retweeting now that he's back. The account, The Rise of Rod, that has tweeted Adolf Hitler was right. Hitler didn't kill 6 million Jews, but Stalin did kill 50 million Christians. It's my First Amendment right to call out the hollow hoax. 6 million never happened. Has repeatedly used the N-word. Talked about how the Jews did 9/11. Shared this meme. Like, if you're a conservative, okay, you can claim, oh, well, Donald Trump just never saw all of that. You want a president who's in control of, like, the nuclear codes of the largest superpower on Earth, who doesn't do his due diligence when operating in a political capacity? Like, this isn't your uncle who has like a successful snowmobiling business and gets drunk every Thanksgiving. This isn't like a low stakes situation. You need someone who's gonna do their due diligence. Like, I don't know. Maybe it should be somewhat troubling if you're like, oh well, you know, he just does what he wants. He just posts his he posts from the hip. Pow pow. Like, maybe it should be a bit troubling that he's finding it so easy to post from white nationalist anti-Semite accounts from the hip. Maybe you should do a bit of a double take on the company you're keeping as a conservative, the kind of people that you're putting into power. Maybe you should consider your thoughts and deeds and the consequences thereof. Does Riverboat Jack have an uncle that crashed his snowmobile? No. But I do know that a lot of conservatives tend to be like from the family that owns the snowmobile dealership just outside of your tiny town that makes 7 figures a year. Anyway, just think that maybe it's bad, and we shouldn't have a fascist president. I don't know where I got that idea. Anyway.